Hello, and thank you for taking the time to discover your ministry potential. My name is Peter Newman, and I get to serve as the worship arts pastor here at Creekside. And today, I'll be walking you through the abilities section of this online Shape workshop. So glad that you're here. All right, please have either the full participation booklet or the 2 key worksheets detailing the Apostle Paul's Shape, and your fill-in Shape worksheet. Have these two ready. Okay, the aim of this introspective workshop is to help you discover your ministry potential by looking at how God has shaped you for ministry service. Each Christian is a custom blend of spiritual gifts, heart or passion, abilities, personality, and experiences. Each of us has a unique shape. And when we become aware of our design, we can more effectively join God in His good work for our good and for His glory. It's a beautiful thing when we discover our design. So in this segment, I'll be focusing on the A in SHAPE, which stands for abilities. These are various natural talents and skills that God distributes to all people for the benefit of humanity. You have abilities. You have something unique to offer that God put in you. So a little bit about my story. I grew up in a super musical family. My parents, brothers, sisters, aunts, uncles, everybody. They played the piano or the organ. My dad played violin. People were just really musical. Everyone could sing, just a really musical family. And so I didn't think of that as really being something unique or special. I just figured it's what everybody did until I started interacting with a lot of other families and realized, okay, this is not normal for every family or every person. This is something unique that God has put into me and into the members of our family. I have natural musical abilities that I've developed over time, and I can use those abilities in the body of Christ, which has been a huge blessing to me and hopefully many others as well. And these days, I have the wonderful privilege of encouraging others to grow into their design as they develop their musical or tech skills and then use those skills to serve the church. They receive a blessing, the church receives a blessing, and it blesses God's heart. It is a beautiful, beautiful thing. All right, let's take a look at scripture to see the Apostle Paul's abilities. In Acts 18, verses 3 and 4, we read, "And because he, Paul, was of the same trade, he stayed with them, Priscilla and Aquila, and worked, for they were tent makers by trade. And he reasoned in the synagogue every Sabbath and tried to persuade Jews and Greeks." Okay, from these passages, we see that Paul had several abilities, right? He was a tent maker, an analytical thinker, a persuasive speaker, and he was able to easily connect with other adults. All right, here are a few key ideas about abilities. All people are born with abilities, things that we can easily do. Sometimes we might feel like we don't have much to offer. I felt like that sometimes, even in ministry, but nothing could be further from the truth. We all have skills that are of value to the church body. And most of us actually have many abilities. Skills that are useful in church ministry can be learned anywhere, at home, at school, in the neighborhood, etc., right? My wife has many abilities, and one of them that she learned from her mom at home is the ability to cook and bake. Such an ongoing blessing to our family and to our worship ministry too, as she cooks and bakes often for our team. So think about yourself. Maybe you're super organized or you're physically strong. Maybe you're great at writing or editing. Maybe you're a great listener and are naturally empathetic. Maybe you're tech savvy, great with troubleshooting and operating machinery. Maybe you're an artist, a storyteller, or a speaker. Maybe you're good at heights, up high, and you have great balance. There's so many different possibilities. And people are not always aware of the abilities that they have. You might want to ask family, friends, coworkers, what abilities they see in you. When a few people are all seeing the same skills in you and talking about that, that's a strong clue about your abilities. And they can help you see that you really do have abilities. Let's address something difficult here for a minute. Maybe you've had people tell you that you're not that great at a particular thing, or that you're not great at anything. That can be so crushing and painful. But the truth is that God has put abilities in you, and He can and He will redeem and restore you if you turn to Him and seek His healing in this area. It's so important to listen to His voice on this and not the lies of the enemy. God will bring out of you what He put in you. And sometimes we need to be strong and courageous by stepping out in faith to try again and to realize our potential. I know this can be tough, but I want to encourage you that there is so much blessing in listening to God on this topic and stepping out in faith. One of the stories I love on our team, one of our singers, she was told earlier in life, some family members said, "Hey, you're not a good singer. You shouldn't be singing." And that really hurt her. And it kept her away from music for a long time, for years. But the truth is that God has given her a beautiful voice. She has a lovely voice, and some friends here at Creekside, they encourage her, "Hey, you should sing, you should try out for the worship team." And she bravely did. She came in and she sang, and it was immediately apparent to me she actually did have the ability to sing beautifully. And so she's on the team, and now she blesses our congregation regularly with her singing and worship leadership. And it's been wonderful to see how God has healed this part of her life and totally turned it around. What a great thing. That's what God does. Don't believe the lies of the enemy or a discouraging comment or voice from someone in your past. Pray that God will show you what He thinks, and then step into what He is prompting you to do. Sometimes we don't know what we're good at, what we're talented at, because our skills are just so blatantly obvious to everybody. Nobody ever really bothers to point them out. Just seems obvious to everybody around us. So that's why when we see abilities in others, we need to take the time to affirm the skills God has blessed them with, so that they're aware of them and are then better able to step into their design. We want to be encouragers. We want to tell people, "Hey, you're good at this." When I was in a youth group years ago, our student leadership group was talking about how we should have music on Sunday mornings. It was just a Bible study at that point with our youth group. And they said, "Hey, we should add music to our Sunday experience." Okay, great, yeah. All right, how are we gonna do this? And everybody's kind of trying to think, well, who should lead it? What should we do? And all of a sudden, everybody points to me. Peter should lead. I'm like, what? Wait, what do you mean? How do these people even know I do anything musical? How do they figure out, that I'm tinkering around with music at home? I just had been tinkering with piano, and how did they find out? But they all, pointed to me and kind of shoved me to the front. And so I'm like, oh my gosh, this is so scary. I was so nervous. I didn't think that I had much ability. I was 15. And, I was just a kid in the youth group and didn't think I really had something. But that was the beginning of God affirming the gifts that He had put in me. God saying, "Hey, you have musical ability that can bless the church body." I was so scared. We had one of those upright pianos that faced the wall. So when I was sitting there playing, the youth group was behind me. I wasn't even looking at them. They were they're all behind me, and I faced the wall. And there was another kid, he was a senior in high school, I was a sophomore, and he was just popular and just friendly, and he'd get up there, he'd say, "Okay, everybody, we're gonna sing." He couldn't really sing, but he was just friendly. "We're gonna sing." And then he would kind of point to me, and then I would start playing, but I was turned around, they were all, behind my back. I was too scared to look at them. And then over time, I got more comfortable with it, and my parents got me a keyboard for Christmas. And, then the next year I turned around and actually played my keyboard facing them. But it was tough, you're 15 years old and here's all your peers and you're trying to lead. And it was a little scary at first, but my parents were affirming the ability and other leaders at church. And so I started, playing and leading a bit, even though I was nervous about it. And it was a, tricky situation to lead with your peers. But that was the beginning of me starting to use my abilities and realizing, okay, this is something God has given me that I could use to bless other people. All right, take a look at your shape worksheet, okay? And think about what natural talents and skills God has wired into your DNA, okay? Take a moment to fill in the abilities section of your shape sheet. You might even want to pause the video here, okay, for a moment. And take some time to do this and just write down, okay, God, what have you gifted me with, and write that down. If you have an interest in worship ministry, we have several serving opportunities available. Most people serve about once a month. And if you're on the Sunday team, for a particular Sunday, singing or playing an instrument or operating tech equipment, you'll need to come to the Tuesday evening rehearsal before that particular Sunday, right? So the commitment is the Tuesday rehearsal and the following Sunday morning services. Maybe you sing. Maybe you've been in a group and you have lots of singing experience, but maybe you don't have much experience, you don't have anything formal maybe, and you have the untapped ability to sing at a higher level than you even realize. Or maybe you play an instrument, drums, bass, guitar, acoustic or electric guitar, keyboard, or a band or orchestra instrument. There are opportunities for instruments, all different kind of instruments all the time on our worship team. Maybe you're interested in tech. Actually takes more tech people to put on a service in our auditorium than the number of musicians on the platform. And there are, camera, audio, lighting, computer presentation, broadcast opportunities. No experience needed for tech. We will train you. Most of the people that do tech have learned here at Creekside. They didn't have previous experience. Or maybe you're gifted in administration or staging. If you're creative, organized, and flexible and willing to jump in to help bring a big idea into fruition, this is the area for you. And there are opportunities to help sometimes on weekdays, on weekends, sometimes big holiday programs, things like that. So there are lots of opportunities for you to explore in our worship arts ministry. If you're interested, reach out. We would love to talk with you. All right, thank you for taking the time to take a closer look at how God has shaped you. I have abilities. You've got abilities. My prayer for you is that you would realize that you have something unique, truly unique to offer, and that you would receive the joy of plugging in and using your gifts here at Creekside. God bless you.